How's it going, everyone, and welcome to another episode of No Excuses on VTWProductions.com and YouTube.com with your favorite show hosts, Still.
Fenurian.
And Volasel, and we're here to bring the latest news and commentary on the video games industry for the week as it was. But first of all, if you would like to get involved with the show, you can do so by sending us email at noexcusesvtw@gmail.com, or you can follow us on the Twitter at noexcusesvtw, or you can join us in our Discord server, most easily accessed by going to vtwproductions.com and clicking on the No Excuses show logo on any of our recent show posts, which link you directly to our server where you can chat with other listeners to the show and the show hosts in real time or at any other time during the show or otherwise.
Yes. Alright, so on the stream today I'm playing a bit of Planet Coaster. I've dusted this old gem off. You know, since the Roller Coaster Tycoon franchise has been driven into the dirt.
Not salty. Rustled.
Not better.
Roller Coaster Tycoon ended at Roller Coaster Tycoon 2.
Technically 3, but...
Didn't play 3.
3 was okay. 3 was also made by the same people who made Planet Coaster, Frontier. Sadly, Frontier also went on to make the movie tie-in Jurassic Park game recently, and it was really not very good.
Was that the one that ended up with a big debacle because they were rigging the review results?
Probably.
Yeah, I was not impressed by that.
Yeah, the game itself is just very, very bland and boring. Like, you've got the voice actors from the movie doing lines for it, and even they sound bored. So, from the mediocrity, I guess, of Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 comes Planet Coaster, which is excellent. The whole point, really, of this game is they made customization the big thing in the front as their idea. They also admittedly made DLC kind of a bit expensive.
Like Farming Simulator expensive, or
not quite to that degree. Like you fork out
Train Simulator expensive.
Not quite to that degree, no, thankfully. But you fork out $15 and you get a decent amount for it. But it's quite a lot of $15 that you end up paying for all the various packs. I'm just going to let this ride on the car ride for a little while. So this park I've actually loaded up is one of the scenario parks, and it shows a small thing of what people can do with it. So you've got your full animatronic animated ride with, you know, the special effects and lighting and sound effects, all that good stuff that you get, you know, at Universal or Disneyland and things. But people have kind of gone a little bit overboard, I guess you could say, with this game. If you go through the workshop and just have a bit of a rummage around looking for these sorts of rides, you'll find all sorts of incredible things. Like someone who's recreated the first Star Wars trilogy in roller coaster form. The entire trilogy in one roller coaster. It's a bit silly. So yeah, I do really, really enjoy this game. I'm just wondering where the creative minds that made this game were on that Jurassic Park game. Anywho, shall we just jump straight into weeks?
I mean, you can try. I don't have much to talk about this week, though.
Admittedly, neither do I. It's been a fun week of work. Anywho, I did fulfill a promiser, and I went and played through the Zenki Zero demo.
It's weird, man.
It's a very, very strange game. I would not call it a survival game, though. I'd call it a JRPG with, you know, resource management. No matter how many people keep trying to wave around the survival tag, survival is a theme, it's not the mechanic of the game.
I mean, on higher difficulties, as I found out when I bought the full game, they do include more survival elements that will just outright kill your characters, like food and water, and they have to go to the bathroom, and, you know, various environmental effects and stresses from stuff being around. They include all that, but thankfully you can turn all that crap off in the lower difficulties.
Yeah, if you don't want to deal with it, you can just ignore it. Turn it off.
Yeah, which is what I did.
Yeah.
This unfortunately is not a separate difficulty from the combat difficulty, though, or any of the other difficulty in the game.
Yeah.
The only part I would like to just kill is any of the survival stuff in it, because I just don't like that stuff. It's just a burden while I'm playing.
It is nothing but a burden, yeah. So,
Right.
as far as the story mode goes, it's 8 people who are eternally cloning themselves on an island full of mystery.
You have to
Honestly,
say it like that?
yes.
I see.
Honestly, I think at this point, with the Spike Chunsoft games, the big reveal at the end and have the kind of the mysterious voice that's telling them what to do. If that voice was completely 100% honest with them, that would be a bigger twist.
Yeah.
I know there's obviously something happening.
Fool me once, shame on you.
That's more of an Kodaka Uchikoshi thing,
Yeah.
where they outright lie to you and troll you through the pre-release up to the launch of the game, through the prologue, and they don't start dropping hints at the reveal until about halfway through the game.
Yeah.
That's more their writing style and how they do things. And Kodaka actually played with it in V3, if you remember, with the whole false reveal.
Yep.
Like, this is what's going on. Despair, despair, despair. Oh wait, that wasn't the real twist. That was all a red herring. Here's the real twist.
Nope, that's a lie. This is a red herring too. Yeah.
Oh no, there was only one big "this isn't real" twist in the game.
Oh,
But,
yeah, there's one really big one, but there's a lot of little ones.
well, that's mostly also just Kokichi being Kokichi, who I'm
Yeah.
fairly certain is just Kodaka's self-insert. He is a wonderful character,
He is
But
a fantastic character to watch.
but his catchphrase is "It's a lie."
That and he kind of just loses his mind halfway through, or pretends to.
Well, he does have to live with the guilt of what happened to the chapter before,
Yeah.
and how he was a dude that instigated it.
Yeah, it all kind of just happened. So,
You need to replay V3. It's a lot of stuff clicks together on a repeat playthrough. If you remember, these people are actual people that can think for themselves, despite what the game did to them.
mm-hmm.
A lot of stuff starts making sense, and a lot of lies get brought out to light on the second playthrough. You realize kind of what's really going on.
Yeah. I think I will have to check it out again, go through it.
Yeah, Weeby does a talk over Let's Play. She's okay as a walkthrough Let's Player, so you don't have to actually play it. You can put it on the background while you're doing accounting BS.
Yeah, accounting BS.
Or whatever.
We're playing Mahjong.
So yeah, Zenki Zero. I'd happily play that game because I want to see where the story's going, even if it's not a really elegant story at this point. Really,
It is not as gripping as either the Zero Escape stuff or Danganronpa.
yeah,
The two mystery writers they had were a big linchpin, and they knew how to do a hook. This game ain't got nearly as strong of a hook, IMO. And I think it's because of the nature of the slow reveal and focusing more on building up we gotta survive and actually making you do the surviving.
yeah,
Like, I think there's too much focus on that and them trying to justify how it's probably a joke or how it's probably reality TV or something. They waste way too much time on that instead of setting up the mystery itself.
mm-hmm.
And it just ain't something that's going to grab you right away. It's going to be a slog for the first at least couple chapters.
Oh yeah. So we shall see, but yeah, my main reason for not buying it at this point is that price tag.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bit much.
I was hesitant. Week 1 in the US got you, I think, $5 off.
Yeah.
But 2 people picked it up that I know. So I scooped it to play it along with them, but I probably won't get to play it for about 2 weeks. I won't have time to just sit down until about then and chew through it with the current work schedule coming up.
Mm-hmm.
So, especially if it's a sloggy type game where I can't turn my brain off while I'm playing it and I have to pay attention.
Yeah, that's real life getting in the way of video again.
Yeah, if this was college or high school, I'd be going through it anyway on week 1, even if it was bad, but it's not.
Yeah. So yeah, the game's okay, but yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not willing to fork out the money they're asking for it, but
Did you get to experience the wonderful combat in that game yet?
that's combat.
At combat.
It's
It's
well,
bad.
there's no other word for it. It's just bad.
It's really bad.
Yeah.
It is not fun.
Not even remotely.
It is going to get to a point, I think, very quickly where combat is going to become a chore and an obstacle that I will go out of my way to avoid unless necessary.
There is a story mode option you can play if you really want to. And it just more or less just skips over the combat, the survival, everything that's inconvenient and annoying. Which is, let's face it, about 90% of the game mechanics.
But do you want to be one of those people?
Yeah, I'm allergic to the lowest difficulty setting in any game. I'm already only playing on difficulty 3 out of 5. I'm not gonna go into the baby modes.
Yeah.
Even if it would make it a better experience for me at this point, just because I'm stubborn and allergic to it. I feel like I would lose something if I broke my streak.
Yeah. It's all part of the game experience. You've got to deal with the tedious and annoying bits and pieces.
And I can't very well cover a game where I say I effectively just YouTubed it.
Yeah.
So at that point, yeah, why not just YouTube it? There's not really a do-it-yourself sort of aspect to it unless you slog through the tough parts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and there is the potential that some of the mechanics could warm up to me a bit as they progress. But I think a big point. Yeah.
That's the
big
part
point
of it
against
I
the
really.
game intro.
That's what really kind of annoys me is just looking at the combat mechanics as they exist now. There doesn't appear to be any hooks to actually improve it. Like no character looks like they're going to get special abilities or something to make the combat more dynamic.
They have stuff like ranged attacks and stuff in their skill trees that give bonuses to it, but I haven't found a way to get ranged attacks yet.
I think you get one ranged weapon in the demo, and it's garbage.
Maybe I didn't find it in the demo, or I didn't craft it.
Yeah, you just find it.
Yeah, so I didn't have that. The demo stops you right outside the main boss's room for the first dungeon.
Really kind of annoyed by that. I would have liked to see what boss fights are actually like.
The boss fight wiped out all but 2 of my team, but it was mostly me being stupid and trying to rejig myself to the movement controls after having not played it for a week. It is not a very difficult boss. It's the corporate dude that has a tie he can shoot out across the entire arena.
Oh, what? Good grief. That tie wasn't just artistic license.
No.
Oh dear.
The tie, you can attack the tie to break it and get a Chivo. I did, by accident.
Here is the monster break his tie.
Yeah, he's carried around a folding chair and he's got a tie he can shoot at you. His necktie is the most dangerous part. And if you break the necktie, all he does is every 3 seconds he randomly will flail around his little chair.
That's really quite silly, actually.
Yeah, you can break his head so he can't move anymore.
Yeah.
He'll just sit there flailing. And I had like a senior citizen and a kid able to beat up on him at that point. It took forever and they almost ran out of stamina, but you could do it.
Yeah. They did at least foreshadow who the boss was going to be, so you play through it, it wouldn't come as any surprise.
No, it's incredibly obvious before going in there.
Yeah. So
yeah, the next area is a labyrinthine treehouse in a jungle.
Okay.
Yeah, it's some rural area that's washed up on shore, and it's the farmer dude, the crazy farmer guy. And that's who you play as in the next chapter.
That's the final bit, is it, of the game that's kind of to me. Like it's the 7 deadly sins again.
Not even well represented.
No.
The ones that are visible are very shoehorned.
Yeah, some are really obvious as to which one they are. Others not immediately, but once you pick it up, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, and the only mechanic I do like about the exploration in the main game is finding creative ways to kill your characters. Because the more unique ways you kill each character, they get Shirabane or something.
Yes.
Where they get bonuses in every subsequent life after they come back for having died in specific ways.
Yep.
Like, the very first thing I recommend everybody do is put the one character you have that doesn't age, in as your only party member. Set up everybody in the hotel and just rest until they all die.
I see.
And make sure they die alone, so they're each sleeping in their own rooms.
I see.
This is starting to sound rather sadistic.
It really is.
And then you bring them all back, and then you feed them all water until their bladders are full, and you run them around so they wet themselves, and then make sure they're each die one at a time in the party.
That just sounds unnecessarily cruel.
And make sure they're out of stamina too when you do it, so that you get the bonus stamina death on subsequent lives. And then, there are a lot of creative ways you have to kill these characters to get all these Shirabanes, and this is the most fun part of the game.
That's just dark. Really dark.
It is unfortunately the only enjoyable part of the actual gameplay I've found so far, is unlocking the Shirabanes. You don't even have a place to store your items until you build it.
Yeah, that was really annoying. Inventory management is a big part of the exploration.
And it's so slow in dungeons. Because everybody has, like, 4 equipment slots and 8 inventory slots that they can carry a stack of an item in. Of the same type of item. But they also have a weight limit. So what you wind up doing is putting all your heavy stuff on the muscle-bound medicine man, who I'm 95% sure is a pedophile, and just stick all your heavy stuff on him. And you don't ever want him in the active party because he doesn't hit very hard and just has a lot of HP. So you are winding up going to the back list to drop all your heavy stuff on him every time you pick up something heavy. Oh, you got all this light stuff? Better make sure it goes to one of the girls you're not using because they have no HP and no attack. And you don't have any ranged weapons yet. They're all in the back party too, so you gotta pick up the item, press the triangle button, hit the left bumper, hover over to the slot you want to put it in, even if you already have a stack for it on another character, and stick the item there. And then you gotta back out again.
Yep, over and over and over again.
Like, there are far too many steps involved in just picking up the dang thing on the ground.
Yeah, why couldn't they just do a collective inventory?
Yeah. Like, I don't get it.
I don't get it.
Like, there is no reason, from what I played so far, for the game not to just say your total party carrying capacity right now is this weight, and you have, 8 times 8 inventory slots, 64. I brain farted for a second.
Even more annoying.
Everyone loves managing inventory.
Mm-hmm. Even more annoying is that a character's weight capacity varies by age.
Yeah.
So you go up a story and somebody suddenly turns into a decrepit old person, and now you got to move all their items around again.
What this realistically means is you will never ever go into a dungeon unless your entire party has just hit adulthood.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to be able to carry everything. Because somebody's going to get old, and somebody's not going to be able to carry stuff.
Yep. Just, so many things really just badly designed in this game. I want to play it to see where the story goes, but I'm not going to fork out the money they're asking for what is pretty much just a bad game.
Yeah, it is interesting enough that I would like to see where the story goes, but it has not hooked me yet, and it has not sold me on having to slog through this mess.
Yeah.
We will see in a couple weeks when I get some free time. I might blow my way through it.
See how you go.
We will see.
We shall see.
The only thing I give this game major props for is the demo.
It is a very generous demo. It is most of the first chapter.
If they had not let me given out that demo, and I was totally okay with that as a business practice in general, I wouldn't have bought this game.
Yeah. Oh dear. So yeah, it's just mechanically bad. Story's interesting. There's enough interesting hooks there that I want to see where it's going. It's just, yeah, mechanically bad.
Yeah, this isn't VLR that's going to grab you by surprise if you didn't know the series was there and, drag you through the whole thing or whatever. This isn't Uchikoshi stuff or Kodaka stuff or whatever.
No.
This is clearly a new writer and it's just he hadn't found his feet yet. I think.
Well,
he's. It might be that he's trying to emulate Uchikoshi. That's what it seems like.
Oh yeah,
this gives a whole lot of Zero Escape vibes.
Yeah,
like people are comparing it to Danganronpa. I don't get that at all. I don't get Kotaka's style from this at all. I get Uchikoshi.
Yeah. So, but the writing's not the big hurdle. It's the gameplay.
Yeah. I could put up with somebody finding their feet attempting to emulate Uchikoshi's style, but I'm not sure I can do it with this gameplay. I just don't think I can.
No.
Right
I'll grab it on sale or maybe even just actually YouTube it. Which is something I almost never do.
Yeah, it's that bad.
Yeah, it's just that bad.
It's getting universal praise, though. So we are probably wrong.
Yep, we actually agree. We are definitely wrong.
It's usually when me and Vol agree that we're wrong, but I suppose you and me can agree and be wrong, too.
Yes. Okay, what else did I do this week? Not much, although I have to admit I had a moment of weakness and gave up on patience. And started reading the Shield Hero manga.
I'm going to maintain my patience.
I don't think you lose much from reading the manga, TBH. The manga's written pretty well.
I don't have the sort of free time to read another manga.
Yeah, the manga is written pretty well, although it is paced really quickly.
Yeah. You are going a mile a minute reading the manga.
Mm-hmm. So, I'm not going to spoil anything. It just looks like the anime, the new season of the anime is going to go through at least until the next arc, or part of it.
Yeah. Where are you up to in the manga? What chapter?
The second arc, first wave in there.
Okay, that doesn't help.
Everyone's on a boat.
Okay, gotcha.
We're on boats. We have lots of boats. Everyone's going to sink.
Yeah. Series is still new. What classifies something as an entire arc is a little vague.
Yeah.
Hasn't quite settled in yet.
They call it looks like they call the first arc complete at the resolution of a lot of Naofumi's issues.
Yeah.
Without spoiling anything.
That nickname for a couple of the characters, yo. That's all I'll say.
It's not a nickname. It is their official name now.
Yep. It's the best thing ever. That is what sold me on that whole series.
Thankfully, the anime looks like it's maybe 3 or 4 episodes away from everything kind of coming to a head.
I cannot wait for the reading. I can't wait.
I cannot wait. It's going to be glorious.
There are good things coming in Shield Hero, is what we're saying. Be ready for it.
Yeah, and it continues to. It's going to continue to be good. There's
the reading will be delicious, I'm sure.
The reading will
I
be
look forward to it with bated
magnificent.
breath. Especially considering that what is ostensibly an SJW company foot so much of the bill for producing it.
I just love it. It's great. But I admit I had to go back and watch the final read the final few scenes for that arc, just because of the pure cathartic value.
It makes everything worth it.
It makes everything totally worth it. So no spoilers, but you've got something to look forward to.
The Thoughts will have a new nickname coming. In real life.
Yes.
Is how big the impact will be in culture, is my prediction.
Yeah. And I'm also glad to say that the anime has been very true to the manga.
They had better not betray that at the crucial moment.
They had better not. There's a few little things they've changed, like the manga shows bits and pieces of Rough Talia's background a bit earlier than they are. But that's, I think, more just to keep things paced better in the anime.
Yeah, the anime is supposedly following the manga script, and the manga is deviating slightly from the light novels, which deviated quite a bit from the web novel, but not enough to change the story dramatically.
Yep.
So that seems to be the case with what's going on with that. Also, the web novel's impossible to read.
Yeah, just don't.
Don't try. And don't try to read the official localizations of the light novels either. Oh boy. Just to re-warn you from as I did last week.
Dear. What else? There's new anime seasons coming up, but I haven't actually watched any of that yet, so I can't really talk on it. So I'm going to leave my week there, I think. It's about time.
Oh, I see.
So, Volso,
Well,
your week.
I don't have much to talk about. It was an incredibly brutal week at work. Surprisingly, I got to go home on time a lot of the time, which is actually unusual. But since I've moved over to the reading department for a while, I've been able to basically schedule my own work day instead of depending on somebody else to do it for me. So, which means I get done by a reasonable hour. It's amazing how much more efficient you are when you aren't depending on somebody that you absolutely don't trust to sort out your work arrangements. Yeah, so I've had time, but I have been exhausted because of the sheer density of the work that's necessary. One of our major clients, quite a major one, had some issues, and they decided they needed to trace these issues to the source, and that the best way of doing this was to send hundreds and hundreds of samples. We didn't actually have anywhere to work. We were working on trolleys because every single bench was covered, stacked multiply high with buckets of samples. Buckets of samples.
Buckets. What exactly was it you were testing?
Cheese.
Oh. Buckets and buckets of cheese.
So cheese which has been incubated with rich media at 37 degrees overnight.
Delicious.
Yes.
It sounds awful.
It's not great. I'm here to tell you. But as a result, I just haven't had very much energy this week at all, in general terms. So I haven't really done very much playing games. Normally I get home and I will loaf about and do a couple of free quests on FGO on account of I'm still miles behind. Until this week, I hadn't finished clearing free quests in America yet. So, yeah, I'm pretty behind on that. But yeah, I'm pretty much only done work on that. I don't remember what I actually spent my time playing mostly earlier in the week when I had a bit of free time. It was probably just Monster Hunter, more or less, because I still haven't gotten the stream stones that I'm looking for after all this time.
And you probably won't.
Starting to get a moat ridiculous. It really is. So, yeah. Very, very frustrating. Why it's always like this? But, anyway. I'm very much looking forward to the CCC event, but they've got a very long lead up to CCC in FGO. It seems like they've decided that they need to have, almost like multiple weeks worth of sort of general mucking about waiting for something to happen. So I'm investing that time in raising Martha to 100 because obviously you want the maximum amount of punching BB wherever possible.
Totally need more punching.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if I actually really did anything. I've been sort of avoiding watching the new anime for the most part because, I'm pretty indiscriminate when it comes to starting off watching things in a new season. I'll just tend to watch whatever. Mm-hmm. But occasionally that means you run into something horrifying.
Yeah.
And in my efforts to sort of avoid the fallout of that, I prefer to have a few drinks handy when I start a new season. So I'll probably save watching the new anime till after Easter. And then I'll get into it and see what we've got. But honestly, I'm not really that optimistic. It doesn't look like it's going to be a great season. There's lots of cool stuff next season, but this season it's a bit And I've more or less lost interest in a lot of the stuff from this season. There's only a few that I actually managed to carry on to the end. Sad, but I mean, that's the way it is. But yeah, I don't know. There's not because of the weaknesses in the story of Extella Link. I haven't really been inspired to play that much of it. It's still fun to play, and I do go back and I play, and I'm gradually progressing through the extra missions. But because I didn't form the sort of connection to the characters that I did through the original Extella, because the story was so much weightier, it's just not the same. It's just not the same.
Yeah.
Like, because story is such an important factor for me in games. If the story of a game is bad, it becomes quite hard to play. If the story is non-existent, it's not a problem. But if the story thinks that it's weighty and isn't, then it doesn't really work. So, like, I have no trouble playing Neptunia games because the stories are not good. I mean, they're not meant to be good. They're meant to be ridiculous, paint by numbers, things which are merely a matrix in which to embed silliness. But I expect more from the Fate setting than what they delivered in Extella Link. And it's basically, it very much is just a side story, and as a I'm still enjoying playing it now and again. It's been a good fallback to play. There's a lot more variation in the sort of challenges that are in there than in the originals. Yeah, I'm still getting mileage out of it, but not as much mileage as something like Monster Hunter, where it's still stringing me along with its refusal to give me the things I want. But yeah, I don't really have much else to say because it's just been such a nothing week. I've been not had the energy to really play anything. I haven't even read anything new. I'm mainly rereading stuff because of my habit of rereading an entire series up to the point of the new book that I just received. So it takes me a long time to get through new books. So it necessitates reading everything else. Thankfully, it's not a practice that I engage in with full-size novels, only with light novels, because otherwise I never would have made it as far through the Dresden Files series as I have. But yeah. So I'll just leave it there because I don't think that I really have much else to talk about specifically that I did this week. Maybe I'll think of something later.
We could always talk about our adventures with Kieran.
Well, I mean, we could. Yeah. We killed Tempered Kieran. I did kill Arch-Tempered Kushala Daora solo. That was the one thing that I did accomplish, and I proved to myself that I can do it. But I did not enjoy it.
No.
It was very rough. My heart was beating a mile a minute when I finally brought him down, and it's like I'm not very good at this game, so it's always very, very tough fighting something like that. So I've proved that I can do it, but you need to kill him at least 5 times to get all the bits for the armor set. The armor set really doesn't specialize in anything I'm especially fond of.
It more specializes in killing Kushala.
Yeah, it's basically it. Kushala gives you a set to kill Kushala, but you don't ever want to fight Kushala again once you've got everything. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't think I'll go back and do that again unless I am with somebody else who wants to do it, because it's very, very intense. You slip up and it's over. So, yeah. But, there's no way I'm even going to attempt to touch Arch-Tempered Lunastra, who's up at the moment. Like, Lunastra is one of the monsters that I just detest fighting. I feel like she's got too many ways to CC you. Every time you turn around, you're being CC'd again. But so today we decided that we would, for a change of pace, we would fight Tempered Kieran, which we hadn't fought since the narrative required us to.
Stupid smug horse.
Yeah, and it was very smug, but I feel like I did significantly better than average in terms of personal play, simply because I was finally feeling refreshed at doing something other than fighting Lunastra, because for some reason every investigation I get is to fight Lunastra again. They're all determined randomly, in theory, but it's always Lunastra for me.
Yeah, I think
Lunastra, who I loathe.
This is a lie.
Yeah, this is like, it's like the gacha, really. But
a lie.
Yeah, it was nice fighting Kieran. I think that Kieran, for the most part, lends itself quite well to the bow, because your ability to basically target his face, which is a lot of the time the only thing worth targeting on him. So yeah, I think that you get relatively good mileage even if you're a poor shot like I am. But yeah, there were a few thrills and spills, but mostly it went all right. So the fact that we were able to sort of like march in there and then take down Tempered Kieran is sort of satisfying because it means that we actually are better than we were when we started.
Tempered Kieran,
even if it's hard to believe sometimes.
Yeah, the first time we did Tempered Kieran, it was an absolute slog.
It was a nightmare. Every time we turn around, we're getting electrocuted again. My goodness. Yeah. He's not a nice fellow. He just sort of smugly prances about the entire time, looking like he's not even taking things seriously.
He really doesn't. All right. In that case, just call your week there, I think.
Yeah, I don't think I've got anything else to talk about. It's just been very slow and quiet for me.
Yeah. Might as well just dive straight into it. Ari, your week, sir.
My week. Did I even really have a week? I didn't have a lot of time where I was actually doing stuff. This week was mostly running around trying to reset up the tabletop group where I had free time. We were going to the hobby shops and trying to meet people and talk to people and find somebody to fill the last slot or two. Because what happens when you get older, right? And you still want to play tabletop, at least in my area, is all the boys our age have moved away.
Yep.
They've gone and got real jobs in the city. And there ain't nobody left. So we've had to resort, and all that's left is the occasional, independent people living at their parents' houses. And so me and my two friends have been at the local hobby stores trying to convince people to play tabletop that look like they're in our age bracket, and we just ain't had no luck. These people are just, at these hobby shops, the quality has been going down steadily over the years. And I just don't know where else to meet these kind of people.
That would normally be the ideal place to do it, is the hobby shops.
But these people are now fat, ugly, don't take care of themselves types. And that's all I can find there.
Well, it's sort of one of those weird things, right? Like, back when D&D was new, everybody played it. And it's just the player base has been just steadily declining ever since, because it was basically marginalized by geek culture. Like, I think the whole concept of geek culture is unbelievably toxic to all of the fandoms that it encompasses, because it's pretty exclusionary, and it's not exclusionary in the way that the social justice warriors think it's exclusionary. It's not exclusionary in terms of, oh, well, they're trying to keep out some race or some sex or something like that. It's that people get up themselves about how great they are for the most part. It's this garden variety arrogance narrows the playing field, and to the point where only the people who have absolutely zero interest in caring about how they're perceived by others that, are still around for the most part in public. And they are usually the people who are absolutely horrible and you don't want to spend time with. And the reason they're absolutely horrible is because they don't care. They care about not being absolutely horrible. The era in which every normal person would consider tabletop to be, a reasonable game to play, that era is gone. And you can see it happening slowly in other things, right? Like, it used to be when I was growing up, everybody played board games all the time. Yep. But board games have gradually been becoming a narrower and narrower and narrower thing. That you now have to be serious about board games to play board games for the most part. There's only a few exceptions like Scrabble and Monopoly left. And everything else has just become boutiqueized in some way. Mm-hmm. It's a very strange phenomenon that I've only just sort of started realizing is what's actually happening, because the talking heads will tell you the exact opposite, that everything used to be super exclusive to just nerds, but now it's gradually involving other people because normies play Candy Crush or whatever. That's not actually what's happening. That's the reverse of what's happening.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with our age too. You walk into it, not even 5 years ago, if you walk into a hobby shop with two girls saying you're looking for somebody to play tabletop with and just through casual chats with people, you'd find somebody by the end of the day.
This look for the ones that aren't breathing heavily.
Yeah, that is none of them. All of them are breathing heavy now.
That's just creepy.
Like, all these people are either like teenagers and still in high school who we really don't want in the group because they don't understand real life and that, you know, we have to schedule things wonky sometimes because we have jobs, or they are just really, really fat men that are not at all what I would consider a healthy human being to be around.
Yeah, I didn't realize. Like, you know, I'm according to the BMI grotesquely overweight, and I grasp that. I've sort of hovered around a heavy weight for a long time, but I thought that I was fat until I joined the Warhammer Club when I was in high school.
Oh my!
And some of those people literally had to work to get through the doorway.
Yeah. There have always been that group in hobby shops, but they seem to have monopolized it recently, especially with the older demographic. Because apparently the only people that hang around hobby shops after the age of like 23 are people that are not healthy and are probably not mentally sound from the few conversations we had with them that we aborted as quickly as possible in most cases. Like, it was a clown show of starting casual conversation with somebody, thinking about maybe seeing what they're like and maybe if they want to play with us, and then trying to run away from that conversation as fast as we could.
Oh, so that's what you're like. I'm going to go now.
Yeah, it was either because they... I'm not even going to get into why. It was just really, really creepy. And another thing I've realized is people at these hobby shops don't know how to act around girls anymore.
Well, that's pretty normal for males now because, I mean, we were all grew up in this sort of period where there was a lot of control over how males were supposed to interact with females because people had just decided that, oh, well, they didn't like the current paradigm at all. So there's the abandonment of the normal development of social skills in dealing with members of the opposite sex was a deliberate thing that was done. And I don't know why, but the fallout has been pretty rough. I mean, my social skills dealing with the opposite sex are pretty retarded. Like, they're very, very poorly developed. I know that. I mean, I'm extremely good at faking it, so I can get away with that sort of thing. Like, I'm a better actor than I am a sincere person. Like, it's not a good character trait, but I can pretend at things quite effectively. The reality is that I did not have any sort of formative period wherein I learned how to interact with those weird animals called women. Like, there's something that's just missing from our society now, because you've got very specific social roles that you're obliged to fill now that, you know, didn't used to exist in the past, but now that feminism exists, you've got to, you know, treat everybody like they're a Fabergé egg. So
yeah. I have always been around girls my entire life. I grew up with mostly girls. I have mostly friend groups that have had at least, you know, a third of them be girls my entire life. So it has been something that is a non-issue for me personally. And we get in the car after we go to these hobby shops the first time. We did it twice. There were two adventures to two different hobby shops where we tried this, and they were both disasters. But the first time, I got in the car, and before I start the car, I'm just banging my head on the steering wheel over and over again. Just, how is this the people that are around at our age in these shops now? There's no way to fish out nerds from real life hobby shops. I guess they've all just retreated onto the internet.
Well, it might not even be that. It might be that they were just luckier than you and that they established a long-term group quicker. And so that they've just moved in their own circles for the longest time. And they don't see any reason of backing out of that. And the reality is that the pool of people who continue to play tabletop their entire lives is relatively small. That's the way it is. So there's a certain amount of luck involved as well.
It's just we hit the adult stage of life with our group. Then the group had shifting members. The two members that are with me right now were not part of the original group. They came in later, as my tabletop group just evolved over time. But the thing happens when you get older. everybody got jobs, especially all the guys. And I was just kind of left with what I got. And we're trying to build it back up so we can keep playing, but it's just not an easy thing to do. In real life, anyway. And we have no idea how to approach this problem now. Because the old method was go make friends, and then once you get to know them, invite them to play. That isn't going to work. We have found out that is no longer on the table.
Because, well, I mean, that's the thing, right? If you want to get to know people, what you have to do is take up a new hobby. But if what you're trying to do is garnish an existing hobby with additional members, that's not really an option.
Yeah, like the idea was talk to people, see if they're playing something we know how to play. You know, talk to them about that, make friends with them, and then play tabletop on the side, you know, and see if they might be interested after they get to know us for a bit. We expected this to take a while, but we had to abort the conversations with every single person we talked to almost immediately. These people were so just nasty and stupid.
I mean, I expect a lot of people listening will just think you're being snobby.
There's probably an element of that, but...
Probably. But all I'm asking for is somebody that doesn't have to waddle getting out of their chair, somebody that doesn't smell terrible, and somebody that can talk like a normal human being. And it might have been that I was in the presence of, that I had girls with me, that they had trouble talking. That is a real factor.
Well, they're also going to be present when you're playing, so...
But yeah, that's the thing. They're going to be there when we're playing. You need to know how to operate around them, or at least fake it. If you can't do that, I can't take you into the group.
And this is Ari's way of him unsubtly suggesting that we need to move to his area so he's got 2 extra warm bodies.
That would be helpful.
That is certainly an option.
Especially because one of the girls is probably maybe going to move sooner or later. She's having trouble with the people she was going to live with. But, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a thing that has happened that has been very frustrating growing older, and that my personal hobbies that I enjoy are very difficult to pursue nowadays. Especially with the group I still have. And I don't want to throw them under the bus. I'm not going to just abandon them and go see if these people behave better, because they're nice people.
Yeah, I'd love to get into tabletop, but that's even less possible around here.
Yeah, the usual trouble is finding a group. I thought, you know, being able to build back up a group would be much easier than, you know, doing something silly on the internet with a group of friends trying to build it up. No. I ain't going near these people again. These people worried me when I talked to them.
I think that you're probably going to have to start from scratch and make new tabletop converts as opposed to finding existing tabletop players.
Yeah, we were looking for maybe people playing Yu-Gi-Oh or something at that particular shop, or Magic, or anything we could start with them. But they're just the few people we found that were playing stuff like that we talked to. Just no, not even, not going to happen.
Just no.
Just no. So that was a colossal disaster, and we had one night that was just a battle plans for how we're going to attack the problem. So 3 nights this week were consumed with that.
Maybe move it online.
Yeah, we don't know.
It's never as satisfying playing online as doing it for real, though.
It's not.
Yeah, you lose a lot in watching people's facial expressions when something happens between characters, or when somebody totally goes off the rails. There's an element there you can't get on the internet.
Yeah.
There's a certain air in the room that just changes when something happens if you're there in real life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very different. It's just, it's not something I'm going to give up on, but I need to find a new tack for approaching the problem, because the old ways don't work, is what we found out this week. So yeah, other than that, played a little bit of Borderlands, and by a little bit, I mean, I played a character I hadn't played before, and Sleep mentioned offhandedly there's a really busted build with the Necromancer character, and I blitzed through the entire game in 6 hours.
He's not wrong. I mean, they designed that character from the ground up to be totally busted. Yeah, that was the point.
I was just looking for something to do with my hands while I listened to an audiobook that turned out to be absolutely garbage that I'll talk about in a little bit. Yeah, that the Necromancer Anarchy build, for those that don't know, in Borderlands 2, the first DLC character was called the Necromancer. And anybody with 2 functioning eyeballs can immediately tell you what the broken build is. just by looking at her skill trees. In the very first tier of both the red skill tree and the green skill tree, there is a talent. There are 2 talents. The one in the red tree is called Anarchy. It can, and with if you max out one of the talents in the tier below it, it can stack up to 250 times. It gives you a percentage damage boost for every single stack, but reduces your accuracy, and it stacks every time you kill an enemy or you have your weapon reload without manually reloading it. So you exhaust the clip and let it reload. And there is a talent in the green tree that has once you put 5 points into it on the first tier, that has your bullets have a 50% chance to ricochet off wall and do half damage. But it doesn't matter if you're doing 250% bonus damage to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
So what you do is you find any kind of like Jacob shotgun or something, any kind of rapid firing weapon with only one thing in the clip. And with if you get a gun with 1 or 2 shots in it, you just walk into a room and just start unloading that thing in the general vicinity of where an enemy is, and it will just melt. It's really, really funny to watch on a first playthrough. So I did that, but I was doing that to listen to an audiobook from a series that I have mentioned I liked in the past, but the 3rd book in the series has done something really dumb.
Oh dear.
So remember the slavery book series? The superhero slaves? Super Sale on Superheroes?
Yeah.
That I mentioned offhand a few times? Well, the first book is pretty good. It's a harem series focused on a dude who's trying to build up a global corporation type from literally nothing, using a really overpowered ability that he has to modify anything he owns, and that includes slaves, because he owns them. So he gets a bunch of superheroes as slaves and builds them up to be his workforce and enforcers as he builds this company up so that it can house multiple people and protect them from the villainous society they live in, where corrupt governments and villains have taken over. And the second book adds more to it and adds more to his harem of superhero girls, but is still much the same. But honestly, I thought not as well written, but still okay and a fun read. The 3rd game drops the harem completely and goes for straight up polygamy.
Huh. And
half the book is focused on it. It used to be that was a side thing that would happen once every 6 chapters. Was the harem stuff would come up? No. Half the book is about him trying to balance having multiple wives.
Yep. That's the usual way. That's the thing. If a harem story, well, let's say there are 2 destinations for a harem story. No, there are 3, but one of them is very, very rarely used. The rarest resolution is the one they actually used in Sword Art Online, where they just have the main character chooses the winner straight up, and everyone else is just there for teasing, basically. There's never going anywhere. And that's a foregone conclusion that that's the case. The second way that it goes that way is that the harem stays in stasis because the story is never intended to end. It's just supposed to keep going ad infinitum. The third way the story ends is that and this is the one that most commonly it will happen in fan fiction, is that they turn it into a polygamy story where everybody is miraculously okay with the situation and they go about attempting to balance it and having weird harem politics and whatnot. Those are the 3 options, and the most harem series start out with the premise of staying in stasis forever. They never intend to resolve the situation. It's very, very, very rare that they actually go through the whole harem phase and then resolve around one character, which is why it always looks kind of janky when it happens, like when it happened in, say, Shuffle, the anime version of Shuffle. Like the fact that the harem lead picks one character out of all of the others, despite having consistently teased all of them, just comes off as insincere and out of left field.
Yeah.
So that's why usually what happens is that they will keep the whole story in stasis. The polygamy route is what happens when you're trying to have a resolution, but you don't have the nuts to write a character who actually has some decisiveness.
They had a focus in the first 2 books on one girl in particular, where she was clearly main girl and had her head screwed on better than the rest of the nut jobs, has in his harem, who are legitimately insane. And they were treated as more of an obstacle he had to deal with to keep them happy, so they would keep working for him willingly without having to make use of their slave contract. And he was just entertaining them, and there was only one he was really interested in. And they played this for like 1.5 books. And then in the third book, they threw all that out the window. This girl who has told him she is not going to share him with any other guy over and over again just says, "Nah, I'm okay with it now."
Huh.
It is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in writing. And the worst part about all of it was the actual interesting stuff going on in the story with him setting up the business and trying to take over the world and going through it, the minutia of the business aspects of all that, which was what made the book unique and interesting to begin with, was completely thrown in the back seat. Like, this is not a focus of the book at all. This is a secondary story in this book, and it's more about dealing with his polygamy, and I just don't care about that. And
Yeah, but that's a telltale sign that the writer was very taken with the fantasy.
Yeah, so the third book in the series has completely just lost all charm for me that series had. I have bought every book, all 3 books in the series as soon as they came out. Was pleasantly surprised by the first one. Thought it was a very interesting concept. The second one, bit weaker, but still okay. The third one is just trash. Like, dumpster fire trash. If they somehow recover in the 4th book, I will tell people to skip the 3rd book. It is bad. B-A-D, bad.
Yeah.
So
I haven't gotten onto that series yet, and honestly, knowing that where the series goes now, I probably won't.
Yeah, as of now, I do not recommend the series. I am retracting that recommendation until they show that they can fix it and it's just a hump in the road. If they do not do that, that recommendation will stay retracted indefinitely after the 3rd book. It was that bad. So yeah. What else did I even do? I think that about covers it. There was an unhealthy amount of being frustrated at internet drama that happened to one particular YouTuber who I'm not even that attached to, but I actually listed his thing in a news article because I was so mad about it. So yeah. I might talk about that later, maybe. We'll see if we have time. But yeah, other than that, it's been a fairly standard work week. I'm getting ready to hit a heavy work cycle for the next 2 weeks. So my weeks will not have very much to talk about, probably going for the next couple weeks. I might also, I found out today, not be here the weekend of the 20th to 21st. Maybe. That's
okay.
This month, yes. And so next weekend, I may or may not be here. We will have to see.
I hope you're here, because I'm definitely not.
Yeah, this is
solo show time.
No, that never ends well.
I will attempt to not leave Vol on his own, but there are family members graduating from college in that weekend, and that means I may have to be out of town for it. We will see. Yeah, so I think that's everything that I really want to talk about this week. There ain't too terribly much else that's interesting. Just a whole bunch of whining about how I can't get a tabletop group together, basically, is the majority of the week. And the Super Sales and Superheroes Book 3 is really bad. So, I don't have anything positive for y'all this week. I normally try to have something, not this week.
Just not this week.
Just not this week. Next time, if it's not next week, the next week, I'll find something positive to talk about. Right. I'll make up for it.
Okay, we should probably actually take a break at this point.
We should. Let's go take a break, and we will be right back after some music. And I guess we can move on from my whining
Yeah.
to
Different
something
whining.
quite fun. To quite funny. Now this is how you utilize people's whining to make money. So we'll start with this one. This is a One Angry Gamer article, but it's focusing on sales talk. So the game Sekiro, remember the game that's too hard and needs a journalist easy mode because journalists can't play it. And think of the handicapped people that can beat the game with their tongue. Those people, you got to think of them. The game will never sell if it has no accessibility at all, except for the part where it sold 2 million copies in the first week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Aside
that's
from that-
it's a pretty good showing, even for a From Software game, which they normally sell relatively well these days. But it's still an exceptional showing, despite the fact that every man and their dog seemed interested in belaboring the point that the game was too hard for most people. Only the hardcores can play it. Now, apparently, there are some gamers out there who aren't afraid of a challenge.
No.
Yeah, them really hard bosses, Joe.
Ugh.
It's just too much time. Can't learn to parry. You can't ask me to do something in a game. You can't make me learn a core mechanic and master it by the end of the game. What are you thinking? I need a margin for error that's like 50 hits long.
Totally.
Toads. But yeah, it just is even funnier to me going through it because like I streamed my entire attempts, all of them, on the Demon of Hatred, one of the 2 hardest bosses in the game. It took, 2 hours to get his patterns down? And
short enough time that I sat through nearly all of it.
Yeah, it made his junk wobble enough he eventually fell over.
Oh my.
That's where you hit him in the fight. That's where your sword's going to be most of the time. And there is a wiggle effect.
Bits.
It does wiggle. A lot. But yeah, like these
something
people...
out of Conan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which,
So-
I incidentally, is free on PlayStation Plus at the moment.
Yeah, I know. I acquired it and I'm like, oh man, I can't believe I just got that.
I'm not going to play Big Floppy Dongs online. Okay, thanks.
Nah.
But yeah, it's just so funny to me. These people can't even master core mechanics and take 2 hours to beat a boss. Like, this is what we would consider normal back in, SNES N64 days. This ain't even NES hard. This is fairly average difficulty for what we grew up on anyway.
But it's the Dark Souls of Dark Souls games.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Sekiro is the Dark Souls of the Soulsborne franchise.
I feel even dumber just for saying that.
Yeah. But
The
yeah,
reason is because it actually did make you dumber.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So I have a sneaking feeling, that all the journalists reading is the reason it sold as well as it did, because this was a new IP for FromSoft. It had the Soulsborne DNA in it through and through, and you can see that. But it was still a new IP with different mechanics and stuff. And I do not think that the purely Japanese aesthetic is as appealing as either traditional fantasy or gothic fantasy. From what I've talked to people, that seems to be the general consensus as well, at least in the groups I run around in. But I'm biased because I also fall into that group. So I think these journalists are who we have to thank for Sekiro doing so well. Because their reading only got it more attention. And all the people pushing back, all the people they said, oh, the poor disabled can't play it. All the disabled people that came out and said, okay, yeah, watch me beat the corrupted monk with my tongue.
Yeah.
Like, these people, telling these people to shut up in the best way possible by getting good and showing them they don't need them to white knight for them. I applaud every single one of those people with actual disabilities that came and gave the big middle finger to these journalists. That was wonderful. I loved it. And I think that is the reason we hit these kind of numbers.
All right.
There's total speculation on that. I have no evidence to prove any of this.
Blizzacti is actually referring to it as a new franchise now.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a thing that happened. We need more people to re-hit games we like.
I don't know. It would just. How long is it until they get wise and start using this just to turn money? I mean, they already are using it to turn money. The reason they write these articles is not because they feel as strongly as they. Well, no, they do. The writers feel strongly about it. The writers write the articles reading because they do feel strongly. The editors running these online rags, they publish them because they know that hate clicks are actually more profitable than good content. So they encourage their writers to write the most hysterical, keyed up stuff they can, considering that they've got a bunch of, soy-filled lunatics doing the writing for them. As it is, it's not too hard to get them all worked up in a lather. So they encourage it, because if they write, a hysterical, hyperbolic rant, it's going to get the hate clicks. Lots and lots of lovely hate clicks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah. I love when this happens. Every time this happens. When the Dragon's Crown fiasco happened too, and that came out doing way better than expected, that was wonderful too.
He's like, nobody bought Odin's Sphere. The Dragon's Crown was going to be the same way, and then they got mad.
Yeah, like Dragon's Crown was the dungeon crawler spin-off that uses the same art team as Odin's Sphere and has nothing else in common with it. But no. We gotta get mad about it because the sorceress chest fat jiggles a little bit.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure I got something in my reaction just folder related to that. I'll dig it up while we're going through the next topic and post it in the show chat to end us on a funny.
All right.
But yeah. So let's pick the next topic. Somebody else grab it.
One actually that isn't posted on the list actually that I only just remembered. Gorka got sold again.
Yeah, I heard about that. I didn't follow up on the news, but I hear it was at a pretty spectacular loss.
Oh my yes. I'm actually just digging through to find an article which gives the numbers, but yeah, Gorka and by extension, Kotaku and Lifehacker and all those kind of in that same cesspool. Got sold for a significant loss. Actually, just cannot find the articles at the moment because this is the sort of thing that happens when you only just remember things at the last second.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing a YouTube video about it, but I did not read any articles about this particular thing.
Yeah. So, just another thing to sit and just feel a little bit smug about. I'll actually keep digging and see if I can find the actual article itself.
Man, me telling people to lose weight and have better hygiene, and then calling out people all over the industry and saying, "We told you so." Man, this is a real hottie week. Probably my fault, but there'll be something to knock us off our high horse soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, maybe. All right. What's the next actual article we got?
Well, you wanted to talk about Jedi Fallen Order.
I did, because it's EA. So EA has just come out and announced that they're making Jedi Fallen Order, but this being an EA game, it's going to be full of transactions and needlessly multiplayer. And hang on a minute.
Yeah, they said none of the usual EA-isms will be in this game. No loot boxes, no microtransactions.
It's not even on the Frostbite engine.
Yeah. I don't believe a word of this.
I don't.
Yeah, it's like they're training their own Todd Howard or their own Peter Molyneux or something.
They're going to see just how much lies they can cram into one article to see what they can get away with.
I'm not dismissing the possibility that some investor smacks somebody upside the head, but I don't believe that they completely 180'd on their stance after despite being called on it multiple times, continued to do it over and over again.
It is, at the end of the day, still EA, and they can't help themselves. They've shown themselves time and time again that they cannot help themselves.
Yeah, remember the last time they said we'd do it better? We got Battlefront. We got Battlefront 2.
This game has been cancelled how many times now? This is just the latest iteration.
Yeah. The last I heard, one of the girls from, I think, BioWare was writing it. Maybe?
That was a way back. That was way back. And she left the project a long time ago.
Yeah, and then I don't know who's writing it now or who's in charge of dev.
Well, it's been shuffled around by so many different times. It's been shut down and restarted and moved from team to team to team, and so on. That like I don't know if they've been given a fresh start and enough money to actually follow through on a vision. We don't even know if it's a good vision. You see, this is the thing, right? What I've been seeing about this from the typical industry shills is that there's all these people saying, "Oh well, look at this. Here's your chance to prove that a third party game from a AAA publisher that's single player and not microtransaction driven is actually able to be successful." And
yeah,
the thing is,
this could be set up to fail.
Well, number one, it could be set up to fail. This could be Darkstalkers.
Yeah.
Everybody saw what happened in plain view. Nobody's under any illusions about what Capcom was doing with Darkstalkers. They were trying to prove that Darkstalkers couldn't possibly sell, and they did by cheating. I think that the deck is stacked against us for a host of other reasons with this as well. Namely, that it's true, single player is dead, and single player games can't be a success. And when I say that, the qualifier is that success has been defined as capable of obtaining a large amount of ongoing revenue through microtransactions. That's what success is. That's the definition. That's the dictionary definition of success for the investors in these companies is microtransactions. If there are no microtransactions, the game has foregone a failure because there's no ongoing revenue stream. That's the definition. So we don't actually have a route to success here. This game could sell, 5 million copies in the first week, and it would still be designated a failure because there's no ongoing revenue stream. It's not going to keep turning out more money for the next 3 years as people buy season pass after season pass, because that's the new definition of success. It's not about whether people like the game. It's not about whether the game is good. It's not even about how many copies of the game sells. It's about conforming to their idea of games as a service. It's all about conforming. It's not about actual production of a game. The game is coincidental. The revenue stream is what they're looking at. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that we could ever reach that level of success. I mean, people have been saying, Sekiro. Look at those sales figures. Look at the popularity. But they are easily, without butter melting in their mouths, I've seen these shills dismiss it. Sekiro is just an anomaly. It doesn't count.
It doesn't even
just an anomaly.
It doesn't even matter, because when you're talking about the scale of money that the microtransactions have the potential to make for a game, especially when you get to the bigger sport games like FIFA and stuff that every dude bro and their cousin adopts, like you're looking at maybe 10% of the total revenue FIFA makes with Sekiro's entire sales for its lifetime. Yeah,
but the thing is that they know that they can get away with that. That's why they've redefined what success means for games, is because of Call of Duty, for instance. Call of Duty has the new one, the big one, has the most cynical monetization of any video game on the market by a country mile. There are multiple different versions of the game you can sell, multiple different things that you can buy, multiple different stores, multiple different routes by which you can dump money into season passes and crap like that. Like they have not one in-game store. They have like 5 different venues by which you can give them money, and people don't care. The people who are into that game are into it enough that they are willing to throw vast quantities of money at the publisher. And so success came to mean something else. In this sense, we only have ourselves to blame as consumers collectively, though I don't believe in collective responsibility, but as a group it is the consumers that are responsible for it, because they did not cry foul. They allowed success to be redefined as something entirely different. And, it was the lobster boiling in the pot. It got hotter 1 degree at a time and we never noticed until we boiled alive. But that's why the video games industry has always come in crashes and then rebirths, is because we never ever pick up on the pot getting hotter until it's too late.
We'll hit a crash. My guesstimate is when all these FIFA kitties and COD Blops kitties wake up and have their wow moment, where you realize that sunk cost doesn't mean you have to keep playing the game when it gets bad and starts trying to ream you.
I'm not 100% sure that we will see a video games industry crash before other parts of society that have enabled it start to implode, because what this really is this is the culmination of, the very worst excesses of consumer culture, all of the abandonment of the concept of delayed gratification, the lack of understanding of the value of money, like what happens when some major Western society goes through hard times, or has an economic downturn that's quite severe, or has some other kind of strife. Like, a lot of what has been allowed to be thought of as important, which enables this sort of crass consumerism, is going to suddenly be thrown in stark relief with reality. And that's really the problem, is that what was once just an escapist hobby has sort of become twisted into this sort of new take on reality, that, oh well, I mean, this is what the market looks like now. We get nickel and dimed to death by big publishers. But I don't know, like, whether the games industry is unstable enough to crash up front, or whether some other part of society starts to groan under the pressure of the behaviors which allow the publishers to do this stuff. I don't know, because I mean, back in our parents' day, they would have been way, way more cautious about where they put their money.
Yeah. The idea of throwing $120 at St. Quartz or the equivalent in these games was not a thing that they would even consider.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. Completely ridiculous. That was sort of an opulent excess that only some, bonkers sultan in Indonesia would ever indulge in.
Yeah. But we don't live in that era anymore, where people have placed value in things that will go away and do not have any lasting value. And these microtransactions and stuff.
So while the microtransactions are a product of our industry, I think that they're a symptom of the culture as it exists now. The very, consume it and throw it away type of culture, the throwing good money after bad sort of culture. Like, I mean, it's not like I'm any less guilty. I'm not trying to claim that. I spend money on a lot of silly things.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's the impulse that you have when you're raised by this type of culture, and you spend a lot of time, if you're concerned about it, you spend a lot of time pulling yourself up and asking, wait, why exactly was I going to spend money on that? How about instead of that I don't? It's a discussion that I had many times with one of my flatmates once upon a time. Was why, this is when I was a student, and students have no money. It's sort of what you do as a student is be poor. But I had the discussion many times. Why does it seem like all of these people our age that have started working have no money? Why is it that they live paycheck to paycheck? We seem to be all right, and we have almost nothing to live on because we're students living on student loan. And student loan gives you enough money to just barely not starve. But you've got all these people who are theoretically working, and they don't seem to be able to pay their power bill. They don't seem to be able to pay for their rent. They can't pay for some reason they've got credit card interest to pay. Why? Why is that a thing? Like, this culture is very, very unsustainable, and it seems to be the norm now. And that's the sort of thing which enables the cynicism of games publishers to look reasonable. Like, when you're in that mindset of throwing money around like it doesn't matter, it's very, you end up in that very strange position. Like, I get paid a miserable amount. Like, I'm dramatically underpaid by the market standard. It's very hard to find a job in this country because we've got a left-wing government, and that's what happens. But so I'm not going to just quit on a whim and hope I get something better. But despite the fact that I'm paid a miserable amount, I still live very comfortably and have a decent amount of money building up in the bank. Why? Because I'm just slightly more controlled in my spending than my peers. Just slightly.
Yeah.
I still spend money on stupid things.
Yeah, it's. I think there's a difference between, though, spending money on the occasional stupid things, or consciously knowing you're buying a digital product for the experience you're going to get in the moment, instead of treating it like a real item. That helps you quantify these things a bit better when you're doing your checkbook and go, okay, I can't afford that this month. and that just gives you enough to, actually have maybe a savings account or maybe have a bit of excess spending money because you don't impulse spend it all the time. But it takes practice in this day and age, or somebody to teach you how to do that, or to be able to do that in the first place. And they just don't see that no mo.
No mo?
No mo.
No mo.
No mo.
All right.
I still buy Saint Quartz.
You
I know,
really shouldn't.
I don't. It's not like I buy it very often, and I've let plenty of banners with events I want sail past without spending a dime. But occasionally I buy Saint Quartz because I get captured by the gacha disease, or it's a real disease.
It is a real disease.
Well, once they've issued the index of mental illnesses a few more times, the gacha will be in there. But
I can diagnose every person in the U.S. with a mental illness already, and with the broad categories that thing throws out.
There's $1 million industry based around that.
I think it's just the biggest joke.
No, I guess I don't, like I've explained before, I don't feel badly about spending Saint Quartz because I can't support the franchise any other way. Like, there's very little that I can buy. Like, I could buy, like, figures or whatever, like Abo does, to support franchises he likes. But, if I bought figures, I've got zero guarantee they'll get to me intact.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to either shell out as much as you are paying for the shipping with no guarantees, or you need to just take the risk on the chin. And like, even if there's some really nice figures that I would have liked to get. No,
you're gonna make me cry because my main figure in my room is my Toko figure from Maho that has not been translated still after 7 years.
Yep, 7th anniversary this week. Still not translated.
Yeah, It's probably never happening.
And actually, on the matter of figures coming in busted, the Toko figure I got is an Ultra figure, which is a pretty good production company in general, and it didn't even get to me intact. It looks fine if you look at it, but if you touch it, it falls over because part of the base broke off into her heel. So it's just where her foot would normally attach to the base, and it's popped up a little bit and contours to the shape of the high heel she's wearing. It's just completely broke off and stuck there. So she's just kind of standing on her heels without any anchor to the base. So no, you can definitely get broken figures.
Yeah,
it's a thing that happens.
That sort of thing would just be like, the idea that it could happen makes me neurotic, and the idea of it actually happening to me, that would be heartbreaking. So I don't really want to get involved in that game.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't really have much else to say on the EA Star Wars thing other than I just don't believe them.
That was a tangent.
I genuinely think that they have redefined success to mean something that it only means now for the moment.
Yeah.
And it's not something that can be accomplished by a Star Wars game no matter what they do. And I think the center point of the whole discussion the market has to prove that single player games will still be successful by buying this game. No, what the market has to do is choose whether or not the game is successful based on whether the game is any good. Like, that's what actually we need to do. Assess whether the game is good. There's no right. They don't have a right to have gamers buy it just because, it's a single player game, and if you want more single player games, you better buy it. No, make a damn decent game.
It's got to be good. If it's good, by all means, go and buy it. But for all we know, the game could be like 2 hours long.
Yeah,
it's if it follows the current trends in a lot of ways, it's probably just going to be garbage. Like, it'll be dumbed down to the point where you can face roll your way through it. The story will have crappy writing. Like, the fact that it's modern Star Wars is already a cause for suspicion because Star Wars has fallen so far in the past few years. Like, I'm not convinced anybody can write Star Wars anymore. I've seen no demonstration of the fact. So
yeah, it's kind of sad.
Yeah. Blue cow milk. Space cow milk.
Blue milk was, yeah,
That was disgusting.
very strange.
But yeah. Okay. Do y'all have anything else you want to talk about in the news stuff?
Not really, no. It's been a fairly quiet week on those fronts.
Yeah.
There haven't been any juggernauts, and I mean, honestly, the news cycle has just been rolling from one chaotic thing to the next lately because of, mainly because of Fallout 76 and Anthem have managed to screw up things at a rate never seen before.
And they keep going. They just keep going.
And they keep happening.
Yeah, and from what I've heard, the what is it? That new mobile thing.
Oh, the
Elder Scrolls
one
thing. Elder Scrolls thing,
yeah.
The Blades game. Like, apparently that's just the most cynical pile of garbage ever.
Yeah. I saw an article about it coming out finally, and I'm like, nah.
It's unbelievably cynical in the classic way. They're not doing anything new. They're just doing it very cynically. Like, for instance, the thing that sticks out, just trying to think of some example, is that there is a bonus, like a percentage bonus, effectively, on the funny money that they sell in the in-game shop for the very first time and only the first time that you buy currency. So number one, they're trying to lure people in on that first purchase, because the first purchase is the one that breaks the seal, right? Everybody knows. And what's more, because it's only a thing that you get one time, they're basically saying you can only really buy the biggest package, right? Because you only get this bonus one time ever. So you better choose wisely, right?
Yeah.
It's not a static bonus. It's a scaling bonus, and it'll be bigger the bigger package you get. So you only really want to exhaust your one go to buy it the first time on the biggest package of our ridiculous funny money. Yeah, there's a lot about the monetization of that game that is scummy, but it's not more scummy than a lot of other mobile games, but it's pretty scummy, and they're supposed to, because they're the great Bethesda. They do magic and stuff, but no, they're just another crappy nickel and diming company who've done nothing but humiliate themselves, sucker and screw over their customers for years now. Like, how many copies of Skyrim does Todd have to release before he's satisfied?
It's okay, though. The Morrowind devs are off doing something spiritual sequel to Daggerfall related. So maybe we'll get something out of that. There's not a whole lot of info on it yet, though, so I didn't put it in the show notes. But yeah, there is a tangential story that has made me incredibly mad this week that I'm tempted to briefly cover before the end of the show, because this is disgusting.
Go for it.
The single most disgusting thing I've seen the left do in a long time. So, sorry if you're left wing. I'm about to rip into everything you love and believe. This is nasty. So there's a guy who has been covering the Kick Vic movement and the I Stand With Vic movement alongside Nikki Rackets and Yellow Flash and all them on YouTube. And before that, he was a part of Comicsgate, with the big kerfuffle in the comics industry with all the wokeness in comics. And his name was That Umbrella Guy. And he's just a dude whose avatar is a trench coat with what looks like the Umbrella Corp umbrella on his face. And he's a genuinely nice guy from the live streams I've seen him talk to other people in.
He honestly sounds a little bit like Mr. Rogers, too.
He does. Like, you're going after the world's most southern Mr. Rogers here with this. And so he made an Indiegogo for his own comic, where he said, okay, the comics industry won't give me what they want. They told me to go do better. I'll make my own comic then. So he actually nutted up and did it. And he got somewhere around $25,000 worth of funding in a week after he came out. And at the same time this was going on, there was a Kickstarter for some super woke lefty comic that was being run by 40 industry professionals that were, as diverse as you can get, in air quotes. And they did not like that he was getting more coverage than them. And the funny thing about this is, despite the fact that this other woke comic from industry professionals had 40 big names behind it, I say big, I don't know how big these people actually are, but the media is acting like they're a big deal.
Which means they're probably nobodies.
Yeah, possibly. There might be
The media acted like Zoe Quinn was a big...
Yeah. But these people do get a ton of coverage, and they got covered on a whole bunch of comic sites. And they couldn't even make 15,000 in like 2 weeks. And they have all the publicity in the world. That Umbrella guy has not even 30,000 YouTube followers when at the start of this week. And the only other connection he has that's really big is Nick Rekieta. And he managed to blow these guys out of the water. That's how done with the comics that the people on Comicsgate are. That they'll support somebody like Umbrella Guy, who has next to no followers in the zeitgeist of popular YouTubers. So they got really upset about this, these woke industry folks. And one of them in particular, who's not, I don't think part of the group, but is tangentially related to them, called Renfamous, and one of her friends called Chrissy.
Aren't they in that group of people whose job it is to just troll people on Twitter?
They have made a whole lot of claims they used to work for the right wing and stuff. Everybody thinks they're lying. But yeah, so what Renfamous did is make a whole bunch of tweets that very not so subtly implied that they need to find that Umbrella Guy's wife and kid on Twitter and figure out who they are. So they went digging. And they found some girl who had 2 kids that they thought was his wife and his kids. They were wrong. So they attacked some girl who was not at all related to this. And then somebody came out and said, oh, we should totally keep going and try and find them so that we can call CPS on this guy. Because clearly somebody that would start a right-wing comic isn't raising their kid right. They're not even a right-wing comic. It's an all-age comic.
They did the same thing to Brendan Orselli, who runs Niche Gamer. Like when he called out that the debacle that had been created over the supposed transphobic ending of the new release of Catherine, he called out that was basically bullcrap. That entire story had been fomented specifically by Reset Era, and they successfully managed to convince. Well, they, for all appearances, successfully convinced the localization team to sabotage the writing to conform to their woke agenda. But Orselli called it out and said that no, that's bull. We've seen the footage. Everything they're saying is a lie. They're just trying to create a situation where they can play their victim card. And the immediate reaction was, oh, well, what do we know about Orselli? He talks about how much he loves his kid on Twitter a lot. Okay, so we'll just call CPS on him.
Yep. And we talked about that briefly when it happened, but I was not as invested in that particular situation as I am in the Kickfix stuff. So it didn't hit me as hard as this has. And that Umbrella Guy has had his daughter on streams read stories and tell stories. She's really young. And it's clear that he loves his kid a lot. And he made the comic he's calling his comic The Littlest Umbrella Girl as a tribute to his daughter. She's not in the comic explicitly, but the main character is a reference to her. And these people are trying to get CPS called on his kid. And they're trying to find her. This CPS is no joke.
No.
CPS is scary. If they get involved in any way, problems are bound to follow you for several years afterwards. This CPS is a big deal. You don't make that kind of threat lightly. And I was very happy when Tug went on Nikki Rackett's stream and told these people, look, I live in a concealed carry state. If any of you screwheads come anywhere near my little girl, I will shoot you without asking questions first. And if CPS shows up to my house ever, there will be lawsuits handed to every single one of you.
So it should
which
be.
was the correct response.
I don't normally watch Nick Rekieta or any of that stuff. I don't follow the Kickvic thing very closely, but it really does seem something. I think it was him that said once that these people don't seem to understand the real world. It's like they think that they're playing some kind of social media game and that nothing has real consequences. It's just a game that they have to win.
Yeah, it is mind-blowing how... I think Nick Rekieta's stuff is very interesting to follow for more than just the kick stuff, because it gives you a very clear insight into how these people think and what they think is acceptable and how to behave when faced with a problem that is going to affect them in the real world. Saying stuff like, I welcome a lawsuit, is not something any sane person would ever say for any reason, even if they think they're going to win.
If you win, there's still a good chance that you won't get awarded the legal cost.
Yeah,
but you aren't guaranteed that. That's something the judge can do if he feels it's justified.
Yeah. This is not something that you should be saying. These people are actually insane. They are so divorced from reality and been living in Twitter land for so long. Like I've said before, social media is a pariah, and it is going to make you a bad person the more you stay on it. And this just proves I was 900% right on this case. Every single one of these idiots tweets at least 100 times a day. That's a big player in this stuff. And, like, don't these people have jobs where they're supposed to be working? Like, how long does it take them to compose each tweet?
Maybe they work for the government, so they don't actually have any milestones to hit.
Well, these are like, yeah, I don't know. Well, according to Renfamous, she used to work for the Republican Party and revealed all the tactics they used to use, but that's suspect.
I've never seen Renfamous say anything that looked even remotely true.
Yeah. And there is the account that called for CPS was not Renfamous herself, but everybody is very, very suspicious that it was a sock puppet account she was using.
Isn't she known to have quite a number, and in fact uses them to ban evade?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the blue-haired land whale.
She did a while ago, and I'm trying to remember what it was. It was something horrible either way.
She's just a bad person in general. She is an evil little blue-haired land whale that does not know how to breathe unless it's through her blowhole and reeing.
Well, I mean, when you see the blue hair, you pretty much know what that means, right? Like, it used to be a joke that it was episemitism, but now it literally is episemitism. If you see some woman with blue hair, you've got to be on the alert. If they're fat and have blue hair, then you need to get as far away from them as possible before you find yourself arrested for rape.
Yeah, like, you can't go anywhere near these people. And, yeah, they... Honestly, if you're threatening CPS on people, you deserve every single thing that comes up your butt from legal action and, retaliation. Period. You don't do that. You don't go after people's kids. You're not going to ruin a little girl's life by divorcing her from a perfectly functional family just because you don't like that some guy's making a comic book.
You shouldn't need to say that. Like, it used to be involving someone's kids in your personal disagreements used to be so far beyond the pale that nobody would even dream of saying you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
Because to tell somebody that you shouldn't do that would have been insulting to them even if they were your worst enemy.
Yeah, you don't do that. This little girl has done nothing to instigate anything in this. She is a perfectly healthy, nice little girl from the Umbrella Guy stream she's been on. But these people are threatening to take her away from her functional, happy family. You don't do that. I'm giving you time out of my day, Renfamous, on a show that doesn't normally talk about comics to call you out on your BS. Because this was disgusting. You don't do that.
Well, this is the end result of the philosophy which says there are no bad tactics, only bad target.
Yeah.
And that is explicitly their stated philosophy. That nothing is beyond the pale provided it's being done to the right person.
Yeah, and that's... These people deserve everything that comes their way. Like, seriously. Choke on your next hamburger, Renfamous. I'm not going to apologize for that statement ever. Just go die. Please. You're disgusting.
Right, with that sunny statement done then, do we have anything else?
Oh, there was something. I'm trying to remember what it was that I wanted to talk about. So I was just a little bit thrown off on that. Oh, yeah, I wanted to rag on the Epic Store.
Oh,
just
okay.
briefly.
Oh boy.
Speaking of
Um,
low-hanging fruit.
So they've continued their grand march with the whole well, we need to make everything an Epic Store exclusive. But it was always a little bit difficult to try and pin them down on a material change that they'd made. But that we now have that case. There's a game called Dangerous Driving that's coming out. I think it's intended to be like Burnout. If anybody played that,
Yeah.
like
a racing game
Burnout's
that's
ridiculous.
a racing game that's fundamentally about score.
Yeah.
So they bought this game, Dangerous Driving, which is spiritual successor to Burnout, or at least I think that's going on here. And the gist of it is basically that they bought it knowing full well that their platform can't support leaderboard and it can't support any of that stuff. So while it was going to be on Steam, Steamworks would have provided a venue for all of their features surrounding multiplayer and leaderboards and stuff. And the console version, if there are console versions, I presume there will be because there usually are these days, they would support leaderboards and so on and so forth. Because the Epic Store is a piece of garbage as far as coding is concerned, because it was thrown up in 5 minutes in order to start this grand crusade, they're not going to have leaderboards, and so the feature set is going to be reduced specifically because they have bought it as an exclusive. So we now have this key situation where, as things currently stand with the Epic Store as it is, because it is an Epic exclusive, it is now a worse game.
Yep. And don't get me wrong, the Epic Store is very bad. But while we're talking about it, I do want to put a firmly dispel one rumor that's going around, and that the Epic Game Store is data mining you. I've looked at that code. A lot of other people have looked at that code, and it's just trolling your temp folder to try and find a specific file. It is not pulling information from Steam's logs or anything like that.
That's
all it's
plenty to
doing.
be angry at the Epic Game Store for without making stuff up.
But be sure you're being angry for the right stuff.
I don't think it's about making stuff up. It's more about going off half-cocked because, to be fair, that code is garbage. A person who's an amateur could look at it and draw the wrong conclusion because it's so untidy.
It is understandable, but that particular rumor has gotten out of hand and has been derailing conversations about the Epic Game Store when there are other more legitimate issues we need to talk about with it. And I would much prefer things be with something that is true than instead of discussing, China's trying to hack all your Steam data, which is not what's going on with the Epic Game Store. It's just really badly coded.
Well, I mean, China might be trying to hack all your Steam data.
Well, they're probably doing that, and they don't need the Epic Game Store to do it. So
that would be in character. Like, they could do it.
It wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah. But yeah, I understand why people got that impression. But at the end of the day, it is wrong. Let's please move the conversation on to more real criticisms and hold them to account for stuff that they can actually, be bent over for.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Seeming like
I'm trying to think if there's anything particularly important. No, I don't really want to talk about the pregnancy app. Let's not do that.
What?
Not
No, let's not.
It's a Blizzard thing.
We didn't. There's another Blizzard thing we could maybe talk about, but it's kind of bland. It's we don't follow Overwatch personally as a show. It might be worth mentioning the OK hand symbol is now banned at Blizzard despite having a character in game that makes the symbol in Overwatch, and one of their major shill outlets going for it on Tuesday, blowing this whole story out of proportion.
It's a good thing it's a good thing I don't like that game because 4chan, why you got to do this to us?
Yeah.
For those that don't know, the meme that the OK symbol, like the thumb and forefinger forming a ring with the three other fingers pointing off to the side or to the up or whatever. The one that divers have traditionally used as their symbol that everything is good to go. That symbol was the 4chan has decided to see if it was possible simply through spreading meme magic to make the mainstream media think that it was a symbol of white supremacy, a code to show white supremacists that they are also white supremacists. And it was a roaring success. The media picked it up instantly. And it has now basically become canonized as such, despite it having never been used as such by anybody in history, except for one person, which is the Christchurch shooter.
And what's even
that
what's
whole
even
thing
funnier,
would have taken, what, 5 minutes?
It didn't take very long. It took like a month for it to take off. But the real icing on the cake with this story is there's one esports shield channel for Blizzard that came out, said they knew it was a 4chan thing and that it was still racist.
What?
It is quickly becoming up there in the top tiers of most disliked videos on YouTube.
Of course it is.
Because these people were dumb to say this. It is the most cringy video you've ever heard. I couldn't listen to the whole thing and had to listen to somebody covering the video instead. It was too painful to listen to.
I linked Ari an infographic last night on the next big thing in white supremacy code.
I've seen a lot of those. My favorite one so far has been just a collage of Obama doing the OK Ham signal as a response to people that are trying to defend this.
Why you do this, internet?
You know, what I sent to Ari was an infographic explaining how the thumbs up symbol is a reference to white power, straight supremacy, and the 14 words of the neo-Nazi movement.
Right.
Thumbs up.
Just why?
It's delicious.
Gotta ruin everything, don't you, internet?
Yeah. It's been a great time to live on the internet in some ways, just for the comedy factor. Even the Hong Kong Clown World thing, which is not a very good meme, IMO, and pretty low tier, but just the reactions it gets are what make it funny. People absolutely are losing their minds over it. I love meme magic. Meme magic is the best.
Meme magic is real magic. My goodness me.
Oh, man. So, yeah. I think that is everything we could possibly talk about this week in terms of relevant stuff.
That it is. So, let's get out of here.
All right. Closing comments go.
What even is time? So, I am quickly losing faith in this industry. Very quickly.
I promise. Yeah. It's bad. I promise next week I'll leave my high horse at home if I'm here.
Otherwise you get the Vol alone show and it could just be 2 hours of him ragging on the gacha.
Yeah. Complain about the gacha for 2 straight hours.
I will try to be here. I will try to find a way to sneak away on Saturday. It will be a challenge, but I will try. Yeah. When I do get back, I will leave the high horse at home. I feel kind of bad. I was really high horsey this show. But yeah.
All right.
So yeah, email topic of the week is: do you believe EA for a second?
Nope. The correct answer is nope.
The correct answer is no, but I'm more interested in why nope. What examples do you have? So there you go. All right, folks. We will see you probably next week. If not, because of shenanigans, we will see you the week after for Shersies. We'll see you then. Sayonara, bye-bye.